Alright, so in this part of the tutorial there's not gonna be a whole lot of new techniques. It's mostly about repairing and iterating on the work we've already done. Think of this as one of those in-between phases where you step back, look at the scene with fresh eyes, and realize a few things just aren't sitting right. That's exactly what happens here. I was reviewing the shot in Nuke and something about the roofs really started to bother me. They were looking off, almost artificial or out of place. The material didn't quite catch the light correctly, so it was not really working for me, and I decided to go back and redo those roof materials from, well, not from scratch, but tweak them. Make the different materials, different variation. Nothing overly complex, just stripping them down, reworking the base textures and introducing a little more variation across the different buildings. Sometimes even subtle changes in roughness or color can go a long way. Now, while I was at it, I noticed a few forest back areas, especially around the midground and edges of the frame, that just weren't working visually. Some patches looked too uniform, too clumpy, or just lacked the randomness that you'd expect in nature. So I went back and tweaked the forest back setups, adjusted the distribution maps, painted some new brought in more variation objects, played with the scale and rotation, settings to break up that repetition. I also started bringing in more tree assets, different species, different shapes, different tones. The goal here was to make the forest feel like it grew organically, not like it was generated by an algorithm. Even though it shouldn't feel like it. And the great thing with Forest Pack is that once you build a solid library of tree variations, you can just cycle them in and out of your scatters to test what looks best in the shot. It's all about that natural randomness. On the shader side, I went back and started refining things again. Most of the trees and foliage still had the base very shaders that comes with the Chaos library. So I did the same thing we did previously. Applied the thin wall setup again where it made sense, especially on the leaf materials, just to give them that slightly translucent quality without blowing out the render times. It's small stuff like adjusting SSS or tweaking the albedo values, but it all adds up to something more believable and lighter on render resources. I know we've covered these shaders tweaks before, so I'm not going to dwell too much on the details, but the core idea is always the same: balance quality and performance. Keep things physically plausible, but don't overcomplicate. If it looks right and renders efficiently, you're in a good place. This stage of the project is all about refinement. You're not learning brand new tools, you're just training your eye, spotting what looks off, diagnosing why, and figuring out how to fix. That could be materials, lighting, asset choice, or just general composition. It's not flashy, but it's the difference between something that feels CG and something that feels grounded in reality. So yeah, this session is less about big breakthrough and more about that slow, steady climb toward quality. Fixing mistakes, making better choices, and letting the scene evolve as you work, that's a huge part of any environment creation process, and honestly one of the most satisfying. So it's around this stage, after I've done the first slab comp, that I like to take a step back and start reaching out for feedback. Up until now, I've been working mostly in isolation, just building, tweaking, refining things, but now I want to hear from other people. Usually, I'll jump into a couple of online communities, whether it's forums, Discord server, or even Facebook groups. I'll share a few frames, maybe a screenshot or something that I'm working on, the work in progress, and just ask, hey, what's not working here? What stands out to you? What do you think about the composition? What about the colors? Or anything that comes to your mind, and people usually respond to that. And I can't stress this enough. Asking for feedback is one of the most important habits you can build as an artist, especially once you reach that point where you already know how to use the tools, when you understand how to model, how to light, how to shade, how to render, all the technical stuff. Tutorials start giving you diminishing returns, like you might still enjoy watching them, but you're not learning something groundbreaking each time. That's when the real progress comes from real external input, from stepping outside your comfort zone and putting your work in front of others. Because no matter how good your eye is, you're always going to be biased towards your own work. You've seen it evolve from the beginning. You know all the little fixes you made, all the time you spent on certain details, and that makes it hard to see when something just doesn't feel right anymore. Now, it's important to say this: feedback isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it's brutal. Sometimes people are going to give you surface level comments, or worse, just throw negativity without anything constructive behind it. And yeah, that can suck. But here's the thing. You don't have to agree with every piece of feedback to grow from it. What matters is learning how to listen critically, filter the useful from the noise, and ask yourself, why did this person react that way? What are they picking up on that I'm missing? And if you're lucky, you'll have a few professionals or experienced artists in your network who can give you that next level insight. The kind of feedback that points out things you didn't even consider. That kind of critique is gold. But even feedback from someone who's just starting out can be valuable if they're being honest. Sometimes just seeing how your work reads to someone else is enough to spark a useful idea or show you something you've been ignoring. That's why I think community is everything. Having a space where people are genuinely trying to help each other, not just to show off, but to actually grow, is so valuable. And it goes both ways. Don't just be someone who asks for feedback. Give it too, even if you're not sure you're qualified. The act of analyzing someone else's work sharpens your own eye. You might spot something they missed, or you might learn from how they handled a challenge that you're facing yourself. And more importantly, it builds trust. If you're regularly giving thoughtful feedback, people will be more open and honest when it's your turn to ask for help. So yeah, at this stage of the project, it's less about adding new things and more about asking the right questions. It's about listening, observing, and refining based on that external perspective. And every time I do this, I walk away with at least one or two insights that push the project further than I could have taken it on my own. This might sound like a small thing, but in the long run, it's probably one of the biggest contributors to artistic growth. So, if you're not already doing it, start now. Find a Discord, find a forum, find a group of people you trust, and just start sharing. Be open, be humble, and use the feedback as fuel to keep leveling up. Alright, shifting gears a bit, I want to take a moment here to talk more broadly about something that's not just useful but absolutely essential if you're serious about working in this industry long term, and that's the power of community. This isn't about one specific project or tool, this is bigger than that. I'm talking about the people you surround yourself with, the networks you build, and how important it is to put yourself out there. The creative industries, especially 3D, VFX, and game development, are built on connections. A lot of people focus so hard on perfecting their technical skills, their portfolios, learning the software, and all of that is obviously important. But just as important, what really accelerates your growth is being part of a community. Being in a space where you can bounce ideas of others, get inspired, get challenged, and just stay connected to the bigger picture. Because no matter how good you are at what you do, if you're just working in a vacuum, you're missing out on a massive part of the process. Community gives you exposure to diverse workflows, creative solutions, industry standards, and new ideas that you probably wouldn't have stumbled on by yourself. It's also a huge source of motivation and accountability. If you're stuck or burned out, just seeing what others are working on can reignite that fire. You might come across someone trying to solve the exact same problem you've been stuck on, or maybe you learn a new trick in 5 minutes that wouldn't taken you days to figure out solo. But more than that, community is where real career momentum happens. A lot of opportunities in this industry don't come from cold job applications. They come from someone remembering your name because you were active, helpful, consistent. Maybe they saw your post in a Facebook thread. Maybe you helped someone out 6 months ago and now they're on a team that needs an environment artist. It happens all the time. And yeah, it can be intimidating at first, especially if you're comparing yourself to people who are further ahead. But here's the truth. Everyone started somewhere. Everyone was a beginner once, and most communities are way more welcoming and supportive than you think. especially if you're there to learn and contribute. You don't need to be an expert, you just need to show up. Start posting your work, share your process, ask questions, answer questions, be honest about where you're at. You'll be amazed at how much faster your progress when you're part of a group that pushes you forward. And this doesn't just help you, it helps others too. Your journey, your mistakes, your solutions, they can be valuable to someone else, and the more we all share, the stronger the community gets as a whole. So yeah, put yourself out there, be visible, don't wait until your work is perfect to share it. Connect, collaborate, and grow alongside others. Because no matter how far you want to go in this industry, you're not supposed to do it alone. That's what community is for. The communities I'm part of are the 3ds Max Discord server. It's a big one, the solid group of artists, and it's a great place to hang out and share your work, do the feedback, see what the 3ds Max is up to, what the community is doing. Same goes for the CG Lounge Discord server. I'm probably the most active over there. Also, the Tyflow Facebook, the Stack Facebook groups are really good. Those are where I'm the most active and can give you feedback if you need this, and also asking for feedback on my personal projects. In this video, I made sure not to do one of those lightning speed fast forwards based on your feedback from previous videos. I've kept everything at a more consistent pace, so it's easier to follow along. It's turning out to be quite a bit longer than I originally planned, but hey, if you're watching it and finding it useful, then that's what matters. Alright, so now for the far background scatters. This is the point where I start optimizing things even more aggressively. Since these trees are so far from the camera, I don't need them to be super detailed or individually unique. So what I'm doing here is building a simplified mesh using the existing V-Ray proxy assets I already have in this scene. Basically, I'm just converting them to mesh. This approach helps me cut down significantly on scene resources. I'm not wasting memory or render time on instances that you'll barely notice in the final image. It's especially important when you've already got a pretty dense forest park setups happening in the midground and foreground. It's all about keeping the scene lean without sacrificing the overall feel or atmosphere. Once I've got those far background trees scattered, I'll go in and tweak the materials specifically for those assets. Since these won't be seen up close, I'm not worried about fine details like normal maps or translucency effects. What I do care about is the overall color and value range, so I'm adjusting the diffuse tones, reducing contrast, slightly desaturating or contrary saturating, shifting the hues, doing whatever it takes to make them look and feel just like the trees on the midground.